Um, come on in, come on in. If this is your first time, welcome. Welcome. If you're from New York, a special good morning to you today. I'm so happy about the Knicks winning. I am a Knicks fan and a Knicks fan only. I'm not interested in any other basketball other than the Knicks. So I'm very excited about the Knicks, but I have some good news for you guys. So I'm going to wait for you guys to tune in. Um, Welcome. Good morning, Ash. Good morning, McKee. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, YouTube. Daniela, good morning. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Aisha Chidole, and I'm an immigration attorney here in Atlanta, Georgia. I represent clients all over the United States with their family immigration matters, humanitarian cases, appeals. We also handle removals, which is led by our removal attorney Stacy, who is wonderful. Um, so I'm going to jump right into it, but let me just put in my phone number here. If you'd like to schedule a consultation, definitely use our number, which is scrolling through the ticker. It's 678-325-1037 or 678-233-2170. It's also pinned right there on my Instagram. You can also find it in my profile, or you can schedule a consult directly with a link in my bio on any of the platforms, YouTube, Facebook. Instagram is chidolelaw.com, and you can schedule your consultation directly as well. So I want to first of all start with good news. Like I've told you guys, when I hear something, I will share something. You guys do know that on June 5th, a federal judge had basically lifted the adjudicative pause for citizens of the 39 countries that were applying here in the United States. Prior to June 5th, there was an adjudicative hold or an adjudicative pause, which meant that they were not they would process your case up until the green card, meaning they would and then basically at the green card stage, they would just not make a decision. Same thing with the work permit from people from the 39 countries that have both a full ban and a partial ban. So as of June 12th, this past Friday, the order became final, and USCIS published on their website. I'm going to post this and pin it after this live. USCIS posted on their website that because this is a final order, they do plan to comply with it, and they will be complying with it. However, they have said that they will still look to other legal channels to see if they can appeal it. So it is still possible they can appeal it. And, I don't know if they're going to appeal it or if they're not going to appeal it. But for those of you who fall on those 39 countries here in the United States, that is a good sign for you guys. So hopefully we're going to start seeing some decisions, for people's EADs and green cards coming soon, at least while we're waiting. But as of Friday, basically USCIS is required to do that. And on their website, they have published that they will follow the order. So, so that's good news. Second good news, I know a couple of people keep asking me about, well, what about consular processing? What about consular processing? And, the thing is, USCIS says one thing or the consulate says one thing, and then they do something else. So I wanted to provide updates for some of the consulate interviews that we had last week, so you guys kind of know what you want to do or how you want to proceed. So I can confirm based on our own clients, if you are from a partially banned country and you are filing a fiancé visa, those are going to be typically approved as long as you meet the requirement. Our client's spouse is now in the United States, so we're very excited about that. So if you're from a partial ban country, the list is really long right now. But if you go on my profile, I think I posted the list on Friday. You should see the list. Or comment yes, and maybe we can have that sent over to you or something. And then so you can file for a fiancé visa, and those are being approved. However, they are not approving immigrant visas. And what do I mean by immigrant visas? So they're not approving marriage-based cases right now that ultimately an immigrant visa in that category would be a green card. They're not approving family-based cases. That would be a green card. So one of our clients' child, after his interview on Friday, what he basically got was a 2-to-1 F. Let me actually see if I can pull that up so I can tell you guys. Just 1 second. Let's see. Where is this? Just give me a second, guys. I'm just trying to pull this up so that I can just kind of read to you guys what it sounds like. Yeah, so basically 212F. So basically, they told our client, and they're telling those clients, and these are going to be for people who have a partial ban where for immigrant visas. So basically what they're telling them is 212F, that basically you've been restricted by this, presidential proclamation. Once the presidential proclamation ban is removed, please reach out to us by emailing us at ... with subject code M11 and your case number. So that is positive. I know it's frustrating to get to the interview stage and be told that, but for people who have been asking the question, then what happens? What happens? But them saying that once the ban is lifted, you can then send this email directly to them. In this case, this is actually from a Nigerian embassy, telling you that you can send this to them so that they can continue to adjudicate your case. That is good. And that's what most of us counselors have been trying to tell you guys, or most of us attorneys, which is that, according to USCIS, according to travel.state, they want you to continue to file and process your case. When the ban is lifted, you're basically skipping the line and starting again. Yes, it is frustrating. Yes, we don't know the exact date the ban is going to be lifted, but at least for those people that get to that stage of the interview, even though they know that they're going to have to refuse them there, they can then send that email directly once the ban is lifted. Because the thing about consular processing, especially when you're from countries where the timeline before you can get an interview can take up to a year, it's good to get in line. It's good to get in line because, if they lift the ban, let's say next year, I'm just throwing out a date or whatever it is, they lift the ban next year for whatever reason, and you choose to start next year, then you're looking at 3 years from then at minimum, because of the backlog that's going to happen, because they will prioritize the people who they've already interviewed, the people who already have an I-130 approval, for them to make a decision. What else did I want to talk about in terms of updates that you guys keep asking me for? And then you guys keep asking me about the 75 the 75 country pause based on public charge. No news on that one yet. But again, remember the 75 country pause is outside of the United States. It's not inside the United States. Inside the United States, there are countries within the 75 countries, as long as you were not in the 39 country, there was never a pause on your case here. That's why when I post the countries, I post that so that you can find your country, so you can kind of know what is applicable to you. For the 39 countries that were paused, in March, they started making decisions on things like their I-130, I-129, their fiancé visa. They were making those decisions so that they could finish their process. Or whatever, at least on the United States front. But now the court has basically ordered USCIS with its final order on June 12th to start adjudicating those cases. And what we were waiting for, because people asked last week, well, have they started? We're waiting for USCIS to give a commentary on it. And you can find this on their page, but we'll post the screenshot from USCIS's page later today, where they said basically they now have to, because of the order, they're going to have to exclude all those pauses and continue processing those cases. So that's good. What else? There was another news that I wanted to share with you guys. So our clients on Friday had their interview. They were approved on the same day. I'm going to post about that later as well. And these are for people who are adjusting their status. Client and children are from Jamaica. The I-130 was approved. Officer told us to check today or tomorrow for the for the green card, so for the 485, to see about a decision for that. So once I have that, I always I'll post it, so things are moving. It is, of course, a very hectic and stressful time, but I just feel like, when there's not been a lot of positives, so like just having some of this is very, very helpful. And I say that because, if you guys remember, they kind of tried to make people panic when they said, everybody had to, move or go to, back to a different country or to their country to do the adjustment of status. Again, that's not the case, and they weren't even asked any of those questions, by the way, but again, because, you just never know. I just still prepare my clients to be able to answer those questions. I just prepare those applications to go over all the positive equities that my client has, just in the event, because, every officer is also different. Just because I just want to give them a fighting chance or that advantage, Anthony on YouTube says, please book your consultation, guys. You won't regret it. I'm still waiting, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you, Chidolela. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay, let's see what this person's asking. What happens to those who filed for a case to be expedited after the pause? Can they now refile the case expedited, or the one earlier filed will become active now that the pause is lifted? I would say you don't need to refile. If they've not made a decision, if they've not denied your expedite basis, then there's no need to refile an expedite, because remember, an expedite is based on something that meets the requirement for you to ask for an urgent humanitarian need, that you're asking for that expedite. So if they have not actually denied the expedite request, then, they will most likely make a decision. Should I register on the USCIS website to track the I-130 I filed for my Jamaican spouse? I'm a US citizen. Yeah, you usually have a 90-day window, like from when you filed your receipt, which I don't know when you filed, but it's good. You can certainly register, okay? Debrielle Williams says, to clarify, you recommend to proceed with consular processing even though Nigeria, in my case, is currently on the ban list in order to get in line for an interview approval. Yes, I absolutely recommend it. And you will be scheduled for an interview, and you will have the interview. We actually have a slew of interview for people from Nigeria in particular in June and July. And something I wanted to point out, I'm sidetracking a second. Maybe because of all this ban, or with the visa bans or the B1, B2, just like the bonds. But in Nigeria, typically, when you documentary qualify for you to be scheduled for an interview, in the past, it had always taken about 12 to 15 months from there for you to be scheduled for an interview. So we're now seeing about 9 to 12 months. Believe it or not, that's really short. For you to be scheduled for an interview. So even though when you get to the interview stage, so what will happen if you're from Nigeria, in a lot of countries right now, is that your spouse is going to have 2 interviews, or even your fiance. With the fiance route, they're approving. There's no pause on that. They will approve if the fiance is eligible. And I posted one of our clients' approval so that you guys could see that. With the marriage route, what will happen is the first thing they'll do is your spouse will go there for what we call a document review interview. And that document review interview is where they will bring all the documents that they've required so that the officers can look through the document and tell them what is missing. So that's not going to be an interview. It's going to just be, show me all your documents. You need this, this, or that. Right. And then they expect them to either upload that onto their CEAC account, or to bring it with them to the interview. They'll give you the instructions. During the instructions, if everything is okay, they will typically just send you this letter, basically saying, because of the ban, we cannot approve you. If the ban is, when the ban is lifted, contact us on our email and put this in the subject line. Now, if they need something from your spouse, they will send a 221G, basically saying that I said 221, 212G. All those numbers are so confusing. Basically saying that they still need something from your spouse. So during that wait time, you want to upload those things that they need from your spouse. Some embassies might ask you to bring it to the embassy. Some might ask you to upload it. Some might ask you to send an email. You just want to follow instructions. And one more thing I want to make note of for those of you who are filing for people in the consulate, whether that's for a family, fiance, spouse, you want to make sure that whoever's email is the email that receives stuff once you get to the National Visa Center, whether that's the person, the relative in the home country, that they are very, very judicious once they get documentary qualified to check their email. Because those document review emails, they do not send it to your lawyer. So if you have an attorney, they do not send it to us, which is very annoying because they send us everything else. And if you do miss that, it's hell, basically, getting a new appointment scheduled. It can take 7 or 8 months. So just make sure that they're very diligent, about it. Okay. Um, what about U.S. citizens with a spouse and child of Jamaica that did the IVA interview already? Yes. If they've not approved you, you will also be on that 212F, where basically you have to wait for them to, you know, make a decision. Oh, another country that I want to talk about, just so that I can give you guys overlaps. Like, for instance, we had a client from Haiti. I might have talked about this last week, I'm not sure. But like our client from Haiti, in that case, they don't have a partial ban. They have a full ban. So because they have a full ban, they are not able to, like one of our clients got the same, in the fiance visa scenario, they were not able to get the fiance visa. They just told them to wait, and they told them, email everybody. Basically says, here's our email us once the ban is lifted. So again, I hope you guys understand the difference between the partial ban. With the partial ban countries, we are seeing that the fiance visas are being approved, but not any immigrant visa. And again, an immigrant visa is a visa that immediately you step foot into the United States, it converts to a green card. A fiance visa doesn't convert to a green card when you enter into the United States. You come into the United States, and then you marry your spouse, and then you apply for the green card. So that's that. And then if you are from a full ban country, then they are not going to be approving that for you. So hope so you see they all overlap, and it's so confusing. I mean, it's confusing for us attorneys, so I can imagine it's confusing for you guys. So hope that's clear. Again, for those here in the United States, of the 39 countries, both full and partial ban countries, the judge has issued the final order on June 12th, which was on Friday, I think, right? I think June 12th was Friday, basically stating that USCIS must adjudicate those cases. And USCIS on their website on June 12th acknowledged that they will start adjudicating those cases and acts as though that those bans or blanket holds did not exist because they're required by law to do it. They're not happy to do it. They did right there that they're not happy to do it, and that they're going to find other legal avenues to see if this can be appealed or not. But the point is they have to do it. So again, as I see, I will post more. I know I didn't get to a lot of questions today because I was in an interview, jumped in late, and it was more important to me to give you guys the updates that you've been asking for. Again, comment yes, if you'd like us to assist you with your immigration needs, or you want to find out more about your particular case or consultations or what you qualify for. I've told y'all, you guys, time waits for no one. Today you might be eligible for something, and then tomorrow you will not. For those people that were chilling and waiting and didn't file, now that the adjudicative hold is off, there are going to be a group of people that will probably get their green card before whatever happens in appeals. So the thing is, when you see a window that you're eligible for something, you have to apply and have faith that it will work out. It's better for you to put your skin in the game than not to, and the last thing I want to say is, again, shout out to my New York fans, my New York Knicks, and I wish I was there in New York right now. New York is my story. Most of you guys know me. I went to college in New York. I started practicing law in New York. As my first license, I love New York, and that used to be my home. So I'm very excited about the Knicks win, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.